Good day, good day, good day. Welcome to a new Triggre Weekend Masterclass. And in this masterclass, I'm going to explain you how to split a text separated by commas into a list of items. So let me show you how that works in the actual application. And after that, I'm going to show you how to create this in the designer, which is, well, a little bit more of an advanced feature, so to speak. So in the application itself, we have a text, as you can see here, number 1, 2, 3, 4. And we would like to separate this into separate text items. Currently it's just one item consisting of this entire text, but I would like to have a text item with 1, a text item with 2, a text item with 3, etc. So if we click on Make a List, Triggre automatically makes that. So you can see it over here. It changed this text to separate words, as you can see here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So how did I do that? Well, I go to the designer. I'll show you the user flow first, which is only 2 pages, just like I showed you before. The input page and the output page, and in between is only one flow part, which creates a list of text separated with commas. So let's go to that specific flow part and I will show you how it's done. Make a list of text separated with commas. There's one other thing you need to prepare, which I forgot to mention, but that's okay. So we have to loop through the actual text. And what we're going to do is we're going to locate the commas which are in the text. And to do so, we are going to calculate how many characters this text has. So technically, if the entire text consists of only commas, we would find every single one of them. Secondly, we have to, to make a repeat action go through, if we have to create a repeat action which is repeated a specific number of times, we have to add a data item with the numbers to refer to. This is also covered in another Triggre Weekend Masterclass, so please view that one as well. So you understand how that has to be done. After that, we also need to create a temporary text in a data item. And we do that because what we're going to do is we have the text itself, and every time we find a comma, we are going to cut the part which is in front of it. We're going to cut that out of that text. But then we have to save that text again, so we don't cut the exact same thing every time. So that's why we are going to, we have to store that so we can retrieve the updated text again without that specific part, so we can find the second word or second sentence or whatever. So there are some things that you need to create in advance, but as you've done that, this is how the flow part will work. So first of all, like I said, we are going to calculate the number of characters. Well, we have a function for that in Triggre, which is called number of characters. So in this case, it could be something like, 20 or something. The second action is to store the text that we need to go through every time. So as you can see, I've named it temp item. The data item is called temp list commas, and personally, I always find it handy to know when I added it, so that's why there's a date time. Technically, it's not necessary. But what is necessary is to store the text that we need to separate. And in this case, when we create this record in the data item, it is the input itself. So that's the text that we initially added to be stripped to single words. Then we need to do a lookup on the numbers based on the characters to loop through, so that we have a repeat action for a specific amount of times. And then we go to the repeat action to go through each character that we have. So how does that look? First, what we do is we retrieve the record of the temporary item we created, because it changes in every loop. And as soon as it's empty, we skip every other logic that we have. We go to the end of the repeat action, so technically it stops running. But if it's not empty, there are some things that we need to do. Because first, in this case, we have a comma-separated item. So first, we need to find the position of that first comma. We have a function for that as well. So we find the position of a comma in, and then we use the value that we just looked up in temp item and the text to separate. In this case, the position of this comma will be something like, I don't know, number 4 or 5, because it's after the text number 1. What we need to do is we need to subtract one number of that position. I'll explain later on why we need to do that, because it makes more sense to you. We also have to add a +1 to this position, and I'm going to explain to you why that is in the next actions as well. So the first thing we do is, like I said, we need to cut off the word that we found. And we use the cut x from, well, position 1 for a number of characters. So we cut the temp item text, and we always start at the beginning. So that's the first character. And then we cut it for an amount of characters, which is the found position, but -1, because if you would keep just the found position, you would cut the comma included in your new word, and that's not what you wanted, because technically you only want the word without the comma. You know, the comma is irrelevant in your list. So using this function, I have just the word, so without the comma. But then I need to store this text without that word and without that comma. So I have to make a new cut of the original text. So we have to get the text in the lookup again, and then we need to find the position of the comma +1 until the end. And the reason for that is that we want to start just behind the comma, and then we want to cut it till the end. So that's why you need to use the +1. And finally, which is very important, is that we have to save this new text in the lookup that we did at the beginning of this repeat action. So next time we will go through the text, but without the first word and the comma. And then you'll go through the text every time. And what I always do is I delete my temp items, because if you've done it 50 million times or a gazillion times, you know, the database will be filled with items that you never use. So, you know, clean up your stuff afterwards and delete the temp item. And that's it. Hey, before you dive back into your Triggre Designer with your freshly attained knowledge, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. See you next week.